Ever wondered why Trump and Vance are spreading the hellacious lies about Haitians? Tyrone Bowman Live. This is the topic that I'm going to be talking about right now. But before I get started, for those who have subscribed to Tyrone Bowman Live, thank you for your subscription. And I hope that somewhere along the line I will be covering topics that will interest you as well. So let's get down to the nitty gritty here. According to the Atlantic, the headline reads, "The real reason Trump and Vance are spreading lies about Haitians." 6 days into terrorizing the city of Springfield, Ohio, with baseless nonsense about Haitian immigrants kidnapping and eating people's pets. The Republican vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, admitted that the tales were intended to push a certain narrative or certain lies. Quote, "If I had to create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do," close quote, Vance told CNN on Sunday. Days earlier, Vance had acknowledged that it's possible, of course, that all of these rumors will turn out to be false, a confession that implies that he does not care whether they are true. The sad thing about it is that, admittedly, he has admitted that he is a liar. And it seems like black people are always the target of any politician who wants to win an election. So let's get back to this article. Since former President Donald Trump and Vance began centering their campaign on lies about Haitian immigrants being duped on Springfield, municipal buildings, schools, and local festivals have had to be evacuated or canceled because of bomb threats. Asked whether he condemned the threats against Haitian immigrants, Trump couldn't even bring himself to say that the threats were wrong, and instead simply spread misinformation about the migrants again. "I don't know what happened with the bomb threats. I don't know that it's been taken over. I know that it's been taken over by illegal migrants, and that's a terrible thing that happened." Besides failure to offer even a shred of concern for residents menaced by bomb threats, the statement was also false. The Haitians in Springfield are living and working there legally using green cards, humanitarian, parole, and temporary protected status, a legal immigration status for people who cannot return safely to their own country of origin. Trump has vowed to deport them anyway. You should have never voted for him in 2016. That's where you all made your biggest mistakes at. The reward that the Haitian community in Springfield has received for doing exactly what Republicans demand of legal immigrants: work, provide for themselves, contribute to their community, is a campaign of slander and intimidation. Contrary to Vance's insistence, he is creating stories about a community to alleviate the suffering of Ohioans. What the Trump campaign is actually doing is invoking that suffering as license to justify violence and harm. This is the most employed rhetorical device of the Trump campaign. Point to someone suffering and then offer as a solution the application of state violence against a disavowed group using Americans' problems as part of pretext to harm people they have chosen to hate. Trump and Vance have said that the Haitians were dumped on Springfield, that they came illegally, that they've spread disease, that they've eaten people's pets. These are all long-standing staples of anti-immigrant rhetoric, regardless of the origin of the immigrants' attempts to use shocking, disgust-provoking antidotes to overcome people's ability to reason. Vance has now essentially admitted that he is weaving stories for a larger purpose. But it's worth examining these allegations a little more closely to see what that purpose is. Someone is going to get killed down in Ohio before the election takes place. This unhinged rhetoric of Trump and Vance is going to cause the death of innocent Haitians to take place. And when it does, they're going to disavow all knowledge to the contrary. They've unleashed their attack dogs down in Springfield, Ohio. You can mark my words. Death is imminent. Someone is going to be killed because of these two uh, vitriolic, hateful, weird candidates. What we know is that the Haitians who are in Springfield are legal. They came to Springfield to work. Ohio is on the move, and Springfield has really made a great resurgence with a lot of companies coming in. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine, a Republican, told ABC News this past weekend these Haitians came in to work for these companies. What the companies tell us is that they are very good workers. They're very happy to have them there, and frankly, that's helped the economy. There are a few things about DeWine's comments that are worth noting. One is that the Haitian migrants came to work and have benefited the town's economy. They were not duped there. The Haitians' arrival did not hurt Springfield. It helped to revitalize the kind of town that Trump and Vance claim to want to help. The Republican ticket's allegations about disease and people eating, pet eating people appear to be completely spurious. The author of the Facebook post from which those stories originated has publicly apologized for spreading them and acknowledged that they have no evidence to support them. As my colleague David Graham notes, the arrival of the Haitian workers helped spur an economic revival, exactly what Vance has said he wants for his home state of Ohio. There are only two grains of truth in Vance's compliments about the Haitian migrants. One is that last year a local boy, Adine Clark, was killed when a Haitian-driven driver hit Clark's school bus by accident, though Vance has falsely called his death an act of murder. Adine's father, Nathan Clark, has condemned morally bankrupt politicians and hatred, spewing people for trying to exploit his son's death to foment racism against Haitians. Another is that the influx of workers has strained local resources. The New York Times reported earlier this year that the new arrivals have put pressure on housing, medical facilities, and schools. Of course, this is how economic development works. People arrive drawn by promises of gainful employment. Then services are expanded to meet demand. Those services in turn provide more jobs and opportunities in a virtuous cycle. To the extent that the arrival of the Haitian workers who have helped revive Springfield's economic fortunes have caused problems. Those problems have obvious solution: investment in housing, schools, infrastructure, and so on that would benefit everyone else in Springfield. Deporting the workers, in contrast, would harm the town, reverses economic revival, and tear apart the community. And the town's leadership is not asking for them to be deported. Springfield's Republican Mayor Rob Rue called the threats a hateful response to immigration in our towns. He has been subjected to death threats for defending the Haitian community. So the question is, why are Trump and Vance so fixated on deporting the Haitians? One reason is Trump has a particular well-documented hatred toward Haitians. The former president infamously referred to Haiti as one of the shithole countries that the United States should reject immigrants from, in favor of those from countries like Norway. Trump has also previously complained that Haitians all have AIDS. Trump's hostility to Haitians extends to other black immigrants. He has also reportedly complained that if Nigerian immigrants were allowed to stay, they would never go back to their huts. Nigerian Americans are the most highly educated immigrants subgroup in America, and Haitians, as the Cato Institute's David Beyer has documented, have a higher rate of employment than native-born Americans and are much more likely than other immigrants or native-born Americans to join the U.S. military. Trump apologists have repeatedly insisted that Trump simply wants immigrants who can contribute to American society. But Trump himself ignores black immigrants' contributions in favor of his own ingrained stereotypes about black people. You know, Trump, we don't give a damn whether you like black people or not. Let's just put it very plainly. We're not going to bow down to you. We're not going to kiss you behind. We're not going to beg you for nothing. We know that you're a vitriolic racist. This we already know. Another reason is Trump and Vance appear not to be interested in helping anyone in Springfield, or anywhere else for that matter. Their actions point to a political theory of the election, which is the fear mongering about immigrants, especially black immigrants, will scare white people into voting for Trump. They also point to an ideological theory of the nation, which is the America belongs to white people, and that the country would be better if it were poorer and weaker, as long as it were also whiter. Trump and Vance have a specific policy agenda for socially engineering the nation through state force to be whiter than it is now, mass deportation, repealing birthright citizenship, and denaturalization of American citizens. This agenda, in addition to being immoral, would wreck the American economy. Republican elected officials in Ohio are defending the Haitians in Springfield because they understand the removing of them would have a terrible effect on their town and state, and the same terrible effect that Trump's agenda would have on the country. Trump and Vance's statements reveal a belief that it would be better to leave dying towns in the Midwest to whiter away than revive them and have to share that prosperity with people who are black. And they seem to be betting that enough American voters in enough swing states agree that it would be better to be broke than integrated. Let me just interject this here. And this is what Trump and all these white vitriolic racists seem to forget. The foundational structure of America was built on the back of Africans, my ancestors who were brought to this country to be slaves. That is a stipulated fact. The greatest inventions, the greatest workers, and prolific thinkers were slaves. White people didn't want to do the back-breaking work that slaves did, who were taken from Africa to the transatlantic slave voyage on a ship called Jesus. That was the name of the slave ship that my ancestors came over here on. And then they didn't want them to speak in their own language. Then they tried to Christianize them and tried to beat them into submission to accepting their white supremacy version of Almighty God. God Almighty is neither white nor black. Get it into your thick skulls. And so the Trump and Vance alliance is about whiteness. That's it, white superiority, white supremacy, white dominance. They don't even want the black people who are here in America to remain here. Those of us who are born here, he wants us out of this nation as well. My black brothers and sisters and brown brothers and sisters, you better wake up around this nation. Get your heads out of the sand. Stop killing each other, murdering one another. Put your pants up on your behind. Put down your cocaine and your alcohol and the cheap whiskey that you get from the stop and go stores that they deliberately put in black neighborhoods. The gentrification of black America is real. You better vote for Kamala Harris and stop playing this vicious game of wait and see what happens. Because the morning after, if Trump gets in office, you're going to wake up and you're going to be pathetically sorry that you allow it to happen. So, Trump's and Vance's statements reveal a belief that it would be better to leave dying towns in the Midwest to be whiter away than revive them, and have to share their prosperity with people who are black, and they seem to be betting that enough American voters in enough swing states agree that it would be better to be broke than integrated. In exchange for these fearful votes, a second Trump administration would proceed to show tax cuts on the wealthy, raise them on everyone else, slash regulations on big business, and further undermine unions, while towns like Springfield would be left to rumble further into decline. That message, spoken plainly, is not as appealing as they wish it were. So to justify hatred toward the Haitian migrants, Trump and Vance chose to smear them as pet-eating savages, saying, "We will invest more in these communities to ensure that they continue to prosper," would not have been good enough. It would not have removed what Trump and Vance see as the actual problem, which is not poverty, addiction, lack of affordable housing, or job loss, but the mere presence of Haitians on American soil. And I will add to this article that was written, "No blacks allowed" in Trump's America. Never surrender, never quit.